はい、皆さん、こんにちは。香川博です。本を書くときは山草洋二という名前を使ってます。よろしくお願いします。さて、アメリカに行ってきて、そして、アメリカのですね、面白い心理学者でもあり、かつトラベルライターでもあるスコット・ハースさんへのインタビュー、アメリカの社会を知る、この複雑な現状を知るためのインタビュー、1時間にわたるインタビューの、これは3回目です。この3回目、1回、2回目、ぜひね、15分ずつなので見ていただきたいんですけど、3回目はいよいよですね、これ投資のインタビューなんですけれども、アジア系のアメリカ人がトランプさんをものすごくね、支持しているという場面にちょっと出くわしたので、そのことを投げかけてみて、なんで移民なのに、自分が移民なのに、どっちかというと移民を排斥しようという動きをしているトランプさんを支持してるんだろうなという、アメリカの一見ね、単純に見えて、つまり二つに分かれて社会が分断されて、単純に見えてるようであって、そうではない、複雑な側面、これについてね、分析を一緒にやってみました。語りながらお互いにアイディアをね、出し合っていって、そしてアメリカを見つめていくという、そういう手法でね、インタビューを続けてみました。3回目です。ぜひね、楽しんでみてください。
First of all, interestingly, Trump talk about the politics a lot. However, he does not have a knowledge what
Right.
what is the nature of Taiwan and what is based on the Taiwan and how it is complicated between Japan, Taiwan, and the mainland. This is totally absent in his mind. So
He doesn't care. The only thing that would help Taiwan is if Taiwan said, we will give you $10 billion. I'm serious. If we will give you $10 billion, will you protect us if, heaven forbid, mainland China decides that they would like to create a military presence here? They would say, absolutely.
But
no problem.
that lady, particular lady who I interviewed, is a typical immigrant whose English is not is not perfect enough. And so he spoke to me quite a broken English, so-called broken English. She spoke to me. And also, not only that, her idea is, from my point of view, where it is not backed up with education so much.
Correct, I'm sure.
And but apparently, I believe that she is a hardworking immigrant, I believe. And
Sure.
What makes her to be not only psychological issue, maybe there's some kind of reason, I believe.
I wish I knew. I think it's a misunderstanding on her part. I think she misunderstands. So it's, again, something my wife and I talk about a lot. So as you probably know, Americans live on credit, okay? But those of us who are okay, we're doing all right. I don't have debt. I don't have credit card bills, So, but many people do. Most Americans do. So someone like her, to my question would be to her, I would never ask her, but the question, I wouldn't because she would get angry at me. But one question I would ask her is, do you have credit card debt? And she would say, well, sure. And you say, what is your interest rate on your credit card? And she would say 18%. And I would say, do you think that when Trump gets into office, he will lower the interest rate, keep it the same, or raise it? She will say, I don't know. I'll say, well, that's the question you should be asking, because he's not going to lower that. Because one of the reasons why people like me, and there's a lot of people like me, are doing so well financially, it's because the people who have debt, they're paying for my lifestyle. Their debt is paying for my profit. And like you said about these children of the rich people who are Marxists. So I know what's happening. And what's happening is people who don't have money, they are subsidizing those who have a little bit more. I'm not rich, but I have the money I have in the stock market. It's benefiting from debt. Americans who have debt are paying for my lifestyle.
That is why, because of the financial issue, which she cannot solve the puzzle as an immigrant, but it seems like her status of the condition of the life is deteriorating. Then emotionally, she wants to be affiliated more Americans, to be one of the communities, and then to survive. That makes her more like a fanatic.
I think that what the American mentality has done to I believe in the economic interpretation of history. So I believe that economics is fundamental to understanding how history works. It's not the only explanation, but it's a big explanation. And the American mentality is not like that. So
But
instead of sorry.
Go ahead, please.
I was going to say, instead of saying to her, instead of the question should be, what will her bills go up or will they go down with Trump? Her medical bills, what is she paying for her co-payments when she goes to the doctor? Is it $10, $15, $35? So when Trump gets into power, perhaps, will her medical bills go up? Will they stay the same or will they go down? They're going to go up, because if they go away with Obamacare, of course they're going to go up. But the more they go up, the more people like me, who I'm invested in hospitals, nursing homes, assisted living, pharmaceutical companies. I have money in the stock market. So those companies go up, the more she pays with her debt. So she should vote for her economic interests, but she's not looking at the information economically. What she's doing is, these immigrants, the subways are crowded. They don't speak English. They're not clean. Some of them look at me in a way that I feel uncomfortable. All of that might be true, but the real issue, in addition to that, is, are you going to pay more or less? You're going to pay more, which is fine with me, ironically, because I will make more money with Trump for sure. But it makes no sense. She's not voting her interests.
That is a quite interesting point. Can I explain one thing, which is like a declaration of the independence? People have the right to pursue of the happiness. And I interviewed of this concept to other guy, and he mentioned, yes, it is true in the United States. The ideology has a contradiction. Freedom, equality, however, people have a right of the pursuit of happiness, which is I can say property. And the property sometimes contradict. People has a lot of property, has a upper, and do not have any property is lower. So it's a kind of a contradiction between equality and the pursuit of happiness concept. Now, people say that I'm now in the South. Okay, so then I visited several old houses here. Then I found that one thing which is like a slavery time, which is like a before Lincoln. Let's see. Lot of cotton field owner who immigrated from, let me say, like Ireland or many countries of in Europe. Cotton field owner wanted to have, of course, cheaper labor. That is why they bought a lot of slaves, unfortunately. And then who made the money? That is a rich person in the North. Because they lend a lot of money with a high interest on that farmers to maintain the slavery systems, to make cottons. And then cotton is exported to England, where a lot of rich people, entrepreneurs, buy cotton to create a garment. And that's how it works at the time. So when North people say, hey, you are cruel and uneducated person who whip slaves, and but actually, it's a part of the world at the time.
That's right. It's an interwoven system, right? I mean,
like this.
But part of the challenge is that in the United States, I think also, I don't know about the Japanese educational system, but for sure, in the United States, we are not educated in our high schools to interpret history from an economic standpoint, because that's considered Marxist, which it is. So in Europe, one of the reasons why the Republicans, and they're right about this, they're correct about this, they're angry at the universities because the universities are introducing an economic interpretation of history, which is in fact Marxist. Oh, well, there it is. But I don't think it's possible to understand history and ignore that. I mean, I don't think that's the only explanation, but I don't see how you can understand history without understanding the economic reasons why people make decisions. And when, part of this whole issue with abortion is men want to take away the economic rights of women. So if a woman having babies that she doesn't want to have, she's not going to be competitive in the economic workforce. She's not going to have economic freedom. So what men really want to do, it's not so much the babies. It's the fact that they want women to stay at home. They don't want women to make decisions. They don't want women to have personal freedom. That's what I think. But that's not really discussed often. It's discussed a lot. I'm not the, obviously, many, everyone's talking about it, but everyone's talking about it on the left. But it should be an issue everyone talks about. It shouldn't be a leftist issue. It should be a common sense issue. You know,
This is very tough complications that we have to solve this puzzle. And it seems like quite pessimistic these days to solve this puzzle. It is so tangled web. It is.
Oh yeah, for sure it's pessimistic.
Now,
I mean, it's, yeah.
Go ahead. You know, it's
No, I agree with
you.
I'm only laughing because I get in trouble in my house with my wife because I keep telling her that I have not a pessimistic view. I call it realistic. I call it a realistic view. And so she says, you're being pessimistic. So I see her point. She doesn't want to get depressed about it. But I'm not feeling really good about this. I'm feeling good about a few things. I'm feeling good about how there's still a strong opposition to what's going on right now in the United States. The right-wing parties in Europe, they're not great, but they're not horrible. They're not fascists. I really don't think they're fascistic. So there's some reasons to hope, you know, or to be thought. We're not done yet. We're not doomed, you know.
I see. Well, you know, lastly, just I want to say, you know, these days, this the real problem is like you have I believe that's a kind of a psychological, how can I say, I mean, specialty you have, right? You know, I mean, talking about the people's psychology, you know, you have a background of that. And
I do.
from a psychological point of view, are there any way to deal with this issue?
It's similar to what I was saying to you before about the farmers and the Greens, let's say. I think that one of the reasons why Trump's really appealing is that people who felt like they were not being heard, they think, maybe correctly, I don't know, but they think Trump speaks for them. So I think that people who have not had their voices heard, they think that Trump is hearing their voices. They think that the stories that he is telling are their stories. And that's very appealing. So psychologically, what I do as a clinician, I interview people. That's what I do. I interview about 8, 16, 20. I interview about 30 people a week, complete strangers, for about a half hour per person.
You do that right now, even?
That's what I do. 25, I interview 30 people a week, 30 minutes per person. I don't know these people. And most of them are very poor. And many of them are immigrants. I would say about 40% at this point. Today, I interviewed a political refugee from Cambodia who was tortured by Khmer Rouge.
That's crazy.
Later, I interviewed somebody who was a refugee from this morning, also from Haiti. So I interview people who are really suffering.
Trauma
Really,
there.
yeah, beautiful people who, through history, have been treated beyond my understanding. Next week, I'm interviewing somebody who's a refugee from Eritrea. I mean, just, you know, terrible things. Last week, I interviewed somebody from Iraq. You know, so what my goal when I interview people is to help them develop narratives. What is their story? What is their story?